All right, we're live for the episode 6 of Rage of Steam. We're doing a Roundhouse discussion today with Tony Fryer and Adam Brocker, and just gonna talk. There's a lot been going on, and we've been a couple episodes behind because of all kinds of whoops. Oh, that means we're working. Forgot to turn the volume off on that. So lots going on, and we just want to catch up. Lots in the train world, but obviously we haven't had an episode in a bit. So how about Tony? You want to start us off with what you've been playing and what's been going on?
Sure. The last two games I've played were the 1822, and played a four-player of that. Liked it so much, I bought a copy. So plenty to talk about with 1822 with you guys if you wish. Also played a game of 1865 recently that included my wife. That was her second 18XX game, and the first time with another human besides myself. So she's getting braver.
And how about you, Adam? What you've been playing?
For me, got to play another game of 46 recently, which was cool. I got to try out Nebraska for the first time. Only got a partial game of that in.
Ooh,
That was pretty interesting. The map in that
yeah.
is odd because it starts out completely sort of vacant with a couple of dots, and then it just everything kind of grows from that. So trying to kind of guess what companies to start was really odd. I kind of went with the sort of the stock ones. That looked like they might be good, but I was getting just utterly trounced in that game. Seems to be very very brutal because everything will turn into cities and then token out. So you have kind of this timing of trying to get your token into key areas. Um, but yeah, we can talk about that later if you want. Also played St. Pete recently, which was cool. And
Oh, we just covered that.
yeah, oh yeah, and Orleans.
Ooh.
Cool. And I've been doing a Tuesday night group, but not much on the train game front. Mostly just Euros. We've been doing that on Tuesday nights. And then I've been organizing a convention that we're going to have in Arizona here in January called the Arizona Game Fair. And so that's been taking up a lot of my time getting that all ready to go. So hopefully there'll be I'm going to lean towards Adam to make sure there's lots of train games at the game fair because I have a feeling I'm not going to get a single game played there. Just guessing it's going to be one of those things where I'm not going to play much. So just dealing with things. Um,
Yeah.
Lots to talk about though in the train game Kickstarters. Two Kickstarters that have already finished: Trick of the Rails and Tramways. Trick of the Rails is an old. This is the original
Yeah.
out of Japan.
Okuzu.
Yeah, and it got about $25,000. About 1,300 people got that. All right, that's. Do you know Justin? Tony,
Yeah.
is that he's out of Denver there, isn't he?
Yeah, he comes to one of the two game groups I'm involved with.
And were you did you help him pick that out, or did he pick that out on his own, or how did that?
No, no, he picked that out on his own, and we're all thrilled because it would be nice to have some copies of that around. And he brought a pre-production copy to HeavyCon, and everybody got to play it there
So
with the
I
new art and
guess
everything.
they're just going to make a kind of a bigger box. Is that the? I saw some of the Kickstarter.
It was in a envelope when
Oh,
when
was
we
it?
had it, so
Yeah. So,
yeah,
but yeah, this is just a like a this is what it came out originally. But I saw the
yeah.
Kickstarter art. Also, Tramways ended with about $57,000. I'm gonna murder his name, Albon Viard. Uh,
Bon Viad.
yeah, about 920 people did that. So you can actually still get pre-orders or get pre-orders for that. So he has a link on his website. It's avstudiosgames.com, where you can still get it if you didn't get it on the Kickstarter. Um,
Cool.
so, And then 1846 from GMT is made the grade and is going to final art
Awesome.
for their P500. It had 1152, and they have a. One of these days, I'm going to learn how to post images on this thing, but they have the final map posted on the GMT website, which looks good. It's very GMT, but it looks good.
Cool.
And then the Winsome games are, I think, did you get yours already, Tony, or did?
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I've played 2 of them.
Okay. You did the old, so you went and got the postal
Oh yeah.
order, and
Yeah.
I haven't sent mine yet, but the deadline's August 1st, right? And
Yeah, something like that.
sent
Yeah.
out.
And there's
So
the
you must have
waiting
sent,
list. So get it in.
yeah, you must have sent it right as, yeah, I just haven't gone down to the post office. So you must have sent it in right when he
Well, my wife loves me and feeds my addiction, so she went and took care of it for me.
okay, cool.
But
Well,
yeah, it was pretty close.
yeah, we'd love to talk more about since you've already played them.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to start. Should we start off with that discussion, or what do you guys want to? There was also North American Rails from Spielworks is been pre-ordered. Pre-orders were open, and
Yeah.
I don't know if it's still open, but those are going to ship before Essen, from what I understand.
Okay. I want to try that one before I buy it. I'm a little wary of Spielberg's titles,
Yeah.
other than Arkwright.
Um,
And
there's
Uli is awesome, so it's not about Uli.
yeah. No, there were a couple that I didn't didn't blow me away, but I've liked enough of them to try them out.
Cool.
So, but I did order that one.
Okay.
Winsome. So you've played 2 of them.
So yeah, I played German Rails and Chicago and Northwestern. Chad Cook, affectionately known as Paul Chad on the Heavy Cardboard podcast. If all 3 of us, all of our train lovingness was put together, Chad would still be taller than us. He is just a train game nutbag.
We need to get him on there.
And I don't know. He's very shy.
Okay.
I don't know if he would actually
Then maybe
do
not.
it. But when I was on the podcast, we've invited him hundreds of times.
Okay.
He's like, no way, dudes.
No way, dude.
But he brought him. He sent his in like, oh, I got the email. Let me drive to the post office. That kind of a thing. And so he brought him over, and we did not get to play 59. So maybe let's just start with 59 because it looks really, really interesting. It's an 1830 mini clone, like last year's 57, right? The MacGuffin in this one is that the tokens don't block you for anything. Like you can token beyond tokens, you can lay track beyond tokens, and you can run your trains through tokens. But when you run your trains through tokens, you owe some of that revenue to the owner of the tokens you're going through. And so I don't know. Borer sent. I was quizzing him on German Rails and asked him a question about 59. He says, and I quote, "Non-blocking tokens may seem a boon, but the cost to traverse them adds up." So he also said it's not quite as brutal of a game as 57, but I'm still looking forward to trying that one out. Should be short too. But yeah, German Rails, I didn't like it. And
yeah, I saw that.
as soon as mine arrived, I sold it.
I saw you sold it.
Yeah, it was gone in a couple 3 days after arrival. But its victory points was the goal, not money, and money was just a tool towards the victory points. But the tool that the money was used in was these auctions that just lacked tension, and we were just buying victory points. And there was an area of the map important in Germany, obviously the Ruhr,
Right.
but all the decisions to start companies there just seemed meaningless. Like it was obvious what to do when you got to start a company in the Ruhr. So really, the only cool thing about the game, for my personal taste, was the way that you decide, or the way that the game decides what color a train company will be, what color its cubes will be, because there's like 5 different colors, and whatever color has the most cubes in it, that's the color of that company. And so you're starting like red companies all over the map potentially, and there's some neat rules about that. There's some really cool concepts in it, but it just didn't work for me.
Cool. And then
Chicago Northwestern. We played that guy, and that's a keeper. He's pretty cool. It's not a great game, but it definitely has some interesting things in there. A lot of shifting alliances, typical to Winsome, about your stock holdings and who can lay cubes where, and cutting off paths of other companies, and going west and ceasing further investment in that company. It's got some interesting things in it. That was a fun game.
Now,
Which one? Oh,
sorry, go ahead. Okay, is that one a all players can lay track depending upon whether you own stock, or is that a president-only game?
Anybody that owns stock can lay stock, or lay rail rather, in that game. So it's pretty cool. I like games like that where you have those shared incentives, but who's winning the most when I do this? So it's very cool.
Worth the money?
I don't know.
Yeah. I always have this
I don't
discussion.
know. It's certainly a safe investment.
Yeah.
I don't invest in games. That's kind of dumb.
Right, but you're not. It's not like
But
not like some
I figured
cars where
it's 150.
not like some cars where you drive it off the lot and it's worth
Yeah.
$2 after you do it. But
Right. I just figured it was $150, 3 games, so I sold German Rails for $50. It's easy to get $50 back if you don't like the games, but so we'll see what happens.
And
Chad's a collector, so you can't pry one out of his hands.
right. How did you got them last year?
I did. Last year was my first year getting them. I kind of accidentally fell into it because I was talking with John Borer about making an SNCF map for HeavyCon and getting his okay to do that, and he said yes. And by the way, I had a cancellation on this Winsome set. Are you interested? I'm like, oh yeah. Or somehow it worked out like that. I can't remember the exact consequence or words or whatever, but I just kind of like accidentally was at the right place at the right time and got on the list. So.
Sure. And then
Cool.
is he going to pick up the map for later sets, or are you guys?
Oh no, I don't think so. I sent him one of the final production ones too, and but no, he's pretty much done with that SNCF. He sold all that stuff to Queen Games for Paris Connections. So I guess he sold. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how.
He said, yes, Tony, do it, and I'll handle Queen. I said, okay, cool.
Well, because
and he's going to come to next HeavyCon.
Oh, is he?
Well, that's what he said. He said,
you guys were trying to get him on, weren't on the podcast for a while, or was that?
Edward wanted to interview him, but he doesn't really like to do interviews.
Okay.
And so, that kind of didn't go anywhere. But I told him that there was, I don't know, there's 15 or so XX games being played, and that Jeroen and Joris from Splatter came, and he's like, wait a minute, they came? I wish I had known. I would have come, because I guess they're buddies or whatever. So he said, I'm coming next year. So I said, okay.
Oh, well, I was at Essen last year, and that was I was kind of tired because we had done a vacation before, and I got there, and that was the one thing I didn't get to see was his booth. For some reason, I just completely spaced going to see, because he has a booth, but yeah, I didn't even get to it. So
apparently, there's a big Winsome train game group in Germany so at Essen every year, John and those guys get together and drink great German beer and play great Winsome train games.
Yeah. So this year I'm going there first, and then I'm going to do my vacation, because we had vacation for like a week and a half in Spain, and that when I got to Essen, I was so tired
Wow.
from just because when you're
Yeah.
vacationing, you just want to. I was so tired, so there was a lot of that was a blur. Like it was just kind of walking around and stuff like that. So hopefully this year. But yeah, I would imagine there's a ton of uh, winsome 18xx stuff going
Oh
on.
yeah.
Cool.
So Adam, this 18 Nebraska,
Oh yeah.
I don't know. My friend Scott Skippin, we call him Skippin. It's Scott Kippen, right? Um, he wants to bring that over here and play it, and I want him to do that, but we haven't had those stars align yet because he's from Nebraska, I guess, where his wife is, and he said it's really interesting.
It is. If you look at the map, you'll just be like, where are all the cities? Because there's no cities on the map when you. I think there's like maybe one or two on the map when you start, and it's all towns. The whole map just has a whole bunch of towns. Think, oh, okay, this is going to be open, but all the towns can turn into cities. So it's sort of a timing as far as when you want to get in, what cities you want to grow up, or what towns you want to grow up into cities. Once you know, where are you going to lay your tokens to sort of claim your routes, and it's very it's very interesting because I think it probably depends a lot on the group as far as they'll get into patterns as far as how they want the lines to run. There'll be a lot of what is it, shared incentives as far as companies will work together to kind of form a route, and just
What's
it blew my mind basically. I had no idea what I was doing.
what's the
Wow.
process for turning a town into a city?
I think it's just one of the set upgrades that you can do. You can upgrade it. You can lay your town, and then at some point you can upgrade it. I don't know if there's a way to necessarily lock it into a town. I can't remember if you could do that, but I know you could just you would just upgrade it when the greens hit, and then it would all of a sudden become a city that you could token out.
And Scott was saying it's a valid tactic to upgrade a town along someone's route, and all of a sudden their train goes one place shorter now. So now they got to hit this 20 instead of that 50 or something.
Yeah, or
It's
you
just
upgrade it and you lay a token.
yeah, you just cut them right off.
Yep.
It just sounds really cool to me.
Oh yeah, I think that's definitely one that would benefit from multiple plays. It seemed like everything else was fairly standard, but that was just it was really tough to try to look at the board and figure out a good starting position because you were just looking at it and there was no guidance as far as, oh, okay, there's some good cities there. It was just blew my mind, like I said.
Wow, like a sandbox.
Oh yeah. I imagine there's going to be optimized. Once your group has got a hold of it, you're going to see sort of patterns develop in the map, but I couldn't see them when I was looking at it initially.
Okay. I guess Omaha is probably pretty good, but that's about it. Is that one of the cities?
I think so. There were three set ones. I'm not from Nebraska, so I don't know. But I think Omaha was one, and they would have set upgrades for cities in the game. Certain cities would be guaranteed a gray. Certain cities would be guaranteed a brown.
Huh.
So there were a few of those, but it was a lot of just towns that could grow up if everybody wanted them to. But yeah, I got
That's
I got
cool.
utterly crushed. I just had no idea what I was doing. I had a route going. I had a lot of towns. They all of a sudden became cities. I wasn't ready for that, and yeah, it was not pretty.
But you don't mind, right?
No, I don't care. It was
Yeah.
it was fun to try it out and learn from it.
I don't care if I'm getting housed. I'd rather just sit there for 6 hours and explore and enjoy the game and the depth that these games offer. Um, I don't care if I'm getting killed or not.
Hmm. Even after you're not going to come back.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Most definitely. I don't mind. It can happen in these games,
Yeah.
and usually my first play or two, I'm trying to do crazy things and just see what's possible or not possible, as I often find out. So,
Yeah, it was funny
like,
in a game of 46 I was playing recently. We had a player that had to switch out because they felt like they were they were pretty much done, and they'd had to take off. So a new player came in, and it was funny to see that because the game utterly shifted because the way those two players sort of like the initial player felt resigned to his position and kind of felt okay, I'm kind of stuck. The second player came in with a fresh set of eyes and really mixed it up as far as how the game was going and changed the state of the game in general because the tracks that were originally set then became fluid and started changing and the board dynamic changed.
Huh.
It didn't change the overall dynamic of the game. Well, it may have changed a few of it, but it was interesting to see that sort of transition.
It's like this is why real company presidents get fired and new ones come in, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
They see the strategy.
Same
of the other
dynamic.
person. Yeah, they didn't see the thing that the other person didn't see.
Yeah. So 1822, I got to play that for the first time and promptly ordered a copy of it. It's kind of a monster game. I guess from what I've heard, your first full game will take about 10 or 12 hours, but you can get it down to around 6 with a couple of plays and using some auction variants because literally the first half of the game has like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different auctions going on in the stock rounds. And so auctions can add a little bit of time to the game, as you can imagine. But
So
there's some variants.
what's being auctioned?
Well, there are 4 minor companies up for auction at any one time, and there's 24 of those in the game. And also there are 3 railroad concessions being auctioned for major companies. There's 10 different majors. And there's 15 private companies in the game, each with special powers ranging from stuff you would expect to offshore investment things and stuff like that, just wacky stuff. And there's always 3 of those getting auctioned off. So usually those things last till about half the game is over. So every stock round, there's stuff to auction.
So you really got to come
cool.
in. You really got to come into a stock round with a lot of capital, otherwise you're going to be shut out.
Yeah, you get like the number of cubes you get is dependent on the number of players. I think we played a 4-player game, and I think I had 5 cubes, and so I could be involved in 5 of those 10 auctions at any one time, or up to 5. But yeah, so a common theme in XX games is invest your money if you can, because it's not earning any interest or anything sitting in your hand, right? But in this game, at least what I feel is for the first 3 stock rounds, you don't spend all your money because you don't want to be shut out of what's going to be in the next auction and the next auction. And each of those auctions, there's one company or whatever that's in each of them that's standard to be involved in the first auction. But after that, it's random. You don't know what the order of them is determined randomly. And then anybody can look through the stack, so you know what's coming when. So I know my favorite private is coming out in stock round 3. Okay, I can work to that. Some of the privates also let you change the order in those things too. So it's got me and my friends love auctions, and having an 18XX game with more auctions just really is right up our alleys. We love it.
But that's one of the things where the players have to enjoy the auctions, with it being such a major, right? Because if you get somebody in there who doesn't enjoy it, then does it take away from the 18XX experience for them, or is it?
Well, if you don't like auctions, you're probably not going to do very well or in the auctions or enjoy yourself in the game.
Right.
So, because there's a lot of auctions going on.
How long did it all? You said it took 6 hours.
From what I hear, you can get it down to 6.
Oh, it took you guys. How long did it take you guys?
Yeah, we played from 11 to about 6:30, and we were just into the 5 trains. So we had another couple at least hours to go. But I mean, we're trying to figure out what's worth what, and thinking about things too hard, and typical first play
Sure.
slows So and then once you know all the privates and what they do, uh, some really good authorities out there on the Yahoo group have been saying you can get it down to 6 hours or something, which is totally cool.
You just added to my BGGCon must playlist. There, Tony.
It is a sweeping scope. It's all of England. It's not Scotland. It's not Wales. There's no Ireland or Northern Ireland. It's just England, and it's the small tiles, So
Okay.
it's semi-epic too. So it's really cool.
Has the BGG list playlist and all that started, or people?
Oh no, I'm just have my own private thing.
Okay.
Like I put St. Pete on there with the market expansion because I still have not played that. I put 44 and 54 on there because I want to give that a go before I buy it. When I saw the list was $100, I was like, I want to try that out first.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm just gonna get it.
That's eventually supposed to come out.
It's starting to trickle out. I know Game Surplus had a couple of copies. Miniature Market has it available for pre-order, and it's starting to see the light of day, which was odd to see that sort of that disparity between the Europe markets and the American markets having such a huge difference in the number of months it took.
And are you going to be at BGG, Tony, or are you?
I have a ticket, and me and David a buddy of ours in the game group, are gonna drive down together and split hotel room. So I do. I am contemplating not going and going to the Chattanooga Rail Challenge instead.
Ah, and that's.
I get one escape a year,
Yeah, but that's.
That's in January.
Is it in January? Has it moved around, or is
25th.
it always been? Has it always been in January?
From what I understand, it's.
They made some talk about changing it to spring or something, and then.
Yeah, Mark, Derek, I was reading on the Yahoo group this morning that they had been looking at trying to change the time of the year for it, but hotel issues and things like that, they said for 2017 it'll just remain at the end of January, sandwiched between the Super Bowl and the conference championships.
That was always my.
So I don't know. That's what my thoughts are.
That was always my hesitation about going, was the time of year, because going out to Tennessee in January is not, especially if you're going to drive down, because we're kind of looking at that one year and just. That was not for me. Driving across country when you don't know how the weather's going to be and all that was just not appealing.
Yeah.
Convention sounds like a lot of fun, though.
Oh man, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it obviously it's the mecca for the 18XX games. So, but there are quite a few played at BGG, right? I mean,
that's what I understand.
Yeah, I think most of those you have to schedule out, so they'll start to kind of appear some playlists like you were talking about, Andrew, and you got to get in on those. As far as I'm aware, there may be.
I mean, it gets pretty scheduled before everybody shows up.
Yeah.
From what I understand. So.
Yeah, some of the other conventions have like the TGA will be there, so you can just kind of every 4 hours you're going to be starting a game, but I don't think there's anything like that at BGG at all.
And so when are you going to make your decision, Tony? When is it?
I don't know. I've only been thinking about it for a couple of days, so over the next month or so, see what happens.
Yeah.
Hey, on the 30th, this coming 2 Saturdays from now, a bunch of us are going to go to the Forney Transportation Museum here in Denver because they have a train collection there, and as well as cars and motorcycles and things. But the lady said it takes about 45 minutes to go through all the different train cars and everything. But on the 30th, they're opening them, so like you can go in the dining cars and stuff like that, and they have a Union Pacific big boy, and these things were built in the 40s and went out of service at the end of the 50s, and they're like the largest steam locomotive in the world or something. There's only 8 or 9 left, and this is one of them. So
Wow.
yeah, I've never went to go see it. So a bunch of us, Edward and Chad and our associated women folk, we're all going to go down there and check out the trains and kind of nerd out for a little bit. It's going to be really cool.
Yeah.
Apparently, it's so long that it's articulated somehow. The locomotive is articulated. What? I need to see this.
Just so it can make the turns.
Yeah, so we go around the curves.
Yeah.
It's like crazy stuff.
And what else did you play, Adam?
So,
Sorry. Just as far as train gaming, it was just 46. 46 Nebraska. Also tried food. Also got another play of Food Chain Magnate in, which is sort of not necessarily train gaming, but good as well.
You could retheme it
Right
and
on.
make it food on the train cars. I don't know.
have you guys ever played Santiago?
I have not.
Is that the water
It's
one?
an older. Yeah, I think it's a train game. I know you're laying canals and serving plantations, but I feel like it's a train game in a different theme.
A
It's
different
got
theme.
auctions and yeah, different theme, but it's a train game. It's a route building game, and it's pretty cool. You guys should try it. It's somewhat hard to get, but I think it's pretty cheap when you can find it.
When you can find it.
Now, I've
Played
heard
it
that
with 5.
I've heard that one can be brutal. Is that the case?
Oh, absolutely. Which is something I like, of course.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's a
But
good or
yeah,
bad
it's
thing inherently of itself. I just wanted to clarify.
yeah, no, the auctions could be tight because unless you take money from other players by losing a previous auction to get that right, you only get $3 of income per turn. So it's money's weird and money's cool. It's a tight game.
And I haven't. I looked through some of the Essen stuff, but I haven't seen anything train related coming out in Essen. Have you guys heard of anything? Or
Mm-mm.
Yep. North American was the only one I had done.
I have not.
I'm gonna pull up my list, see if there's anything. I can't think of anything currently. Oh, there is one. Let me see if I can track it down. But I don't know.
well, Brass is being republished again because I consider that a train game too. But
Yeah, that's right.
the new
New
version.
maps and beer or something like that.
Yeah.
That sounds
But I wasn't
cool.
sure if that was going to be. I'm thinking that's going to be at Essen, but I wasn't.
Okay.
Yeah, I looked around and I didn't see anything other than the North American. It's North American Railways. Is that? Yeah.
Yeah, there's one that doesn't have an entry. It's 1 second. Saw it on another friend's list. Brian's list had it on there, and it was, where is it? Oh, Railroad Revolution.
Hmm.
I don't know
Oh,
anything about
yeah.
it. Oh,
It's What's Your Game release by the Zonglo developers.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
Yes, it does.
And that's for Essen?
that's what I'd heard. I mean, just rumblings, but yeah, definitely don't quote me on it. But yeah,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
that the publisher and the designers have me very
Yeah, I would.
very curious
That's
about
cool.
it.
Yeah, totally. I enjoy Zonglo, so hopefully that'll be another solid game. This time with trains to some degree.
Yeah, a few more Euro style train things would make me happier. But
Yeah, absolutely.
along the lines of the Russian, I think Russian rails did really well, and then they did, the expansion. But you would think that other people would kind of see that there's a market for. Well, maybe they did. Maybe that's what this is. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe because there's the other games you mentioned earlier too.
Yeah, I mean although Russian rails could have been pretty much anything theme. I mean, it was kind of, uh, but I think you could pull it off really well.
Yeah.
So, any other 18xx games that you played? I know you had a list of stuff that you had, Tony.
Well, there's one that is new that I'm interested in checking out. 18 Cleveland, 18 CLE, and it's by just a guy. It seems like, which is totally cool. Unknown designer, and I guess he's making them in his house or whatever and selling them for $100. But I'd like to know a little bit more about the game. There's this part I wrote down to tell you guys because I think this sounds kind of unique for sure and possibly interesting. But it's during the gray phase, green tiles can get upgraded directly to gray, skipping brown completely.
That's nice.
Yes, but you pay from the company treasury some amount of money, $50 to $100 is what I'm hearing. Because in the game, the brown tiles represent the Great Depression, and they're going to happen, I guess. And so you're kind of incentivized to juggle your tokening and upgrade stuff to avoid maybe getting to brown or helping your friends get some brown tiles on their routes and stuff like that. So it sounds kind of cool because it says at the beginning of the gray phase, then all the brown tiles are going to upgrade to gray. So you have some opportunity to avoid brown tiles on your routes for company money and inflict brown tiles on other people's routes. So I don't know. It sounds kind of interesting. Because I guess since it represents the Great Depression, the brown tiles are less valuable than the green tiles, right?
And this is what's the design? Do you have the designer's name in that, or is it just?
I can find it real quick here. Let me see. But it's he's just making them out of his house, and I assume he's in Cleveland. And that's the other thing. It's Andrew, this may appeal to you because I know you've talked about streetcar games, but it's apparently about streetcar companies in Cleveland.
Yeah. Well, Phoenix had a big streetcar.
Yeah.
Lots of streetcars in Phoenix, and then they ripped them all up, and now we have light rail, which is essentially the same idea.
Let's see, 18 Cleveland. Richard McGuire is
Looks
the,
like
the designer.
looks like uncut you can get for 100 and cut you can get for 150.
There you go.
Oh, I'm not sure what the shipping is though. Ooh, and you get deluxe for 200.
$20. Yeah. But looking at the picture of the map, it looks clean. Tiles look good, and I'm interested. I'm interested. I'm waiting to see what some of the feedback is from those who have copies, because I know there's some guys in the Bay Area that have at least one copy.
That's been the hardest thing for me is to try to find out, try to find out about games, sort of what, and part of it's laziness on my part, I'll admit. Trying to figure out sort of what's unique about a game and what people think about it. Even 4454, I would have assumed that by now you'd have at least 2 or 3 reviews, and has just not happened. There's still very little information, and people have played it a good number of times, but nobody's really jumping up to. You can read about some of the stuff on the forums, but I haven't seen any full-on reviews yet of that, which just seems odd to me with the scale of the release.
Yeah, the games themselves have been out for a long time, and there's been lots of play of 44 and 54, but in their previous versions, and this has, I guess, a tweak or 2 in it. So,
well, it sounds like
I'm definitely interested in seeing what's happening.
I mean, it sounds like they've gone down from 6 to 8 hours to 4 to 6 hours in some cases as far as playtime. So it sounds like they've done some streamlining of it. So I'm very curious about what the changes were, and again, you can dig and find some of that stuff out, but But yeah, I am very curious about it. I was really interested in it when I heard about it initially, but then the buzz just doesn't sound like, from people that have played it, aren't necessarily excited about it, which is, and again, that's just my interpretation of things. There could be some big fans out there, but I was I've been really surprised by that. I was kind of hoping that it would be much a better received um, game, but Mayfair hasn't had the best luck in picking titles. At least some of their titles, like 53, was nobody
Well,
really.
they only need luck in picking one. One. They did really well with that one title they picked.
Are you talking about? Oh, with Catan, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's all they needed was that.
No, that's
The
Yeah,
rest
true.
of them can be, whatever they want. So, but
printing money over there.
yeah. But I could get what you're saying,
Yeah,
like
I'm
like
still
this.
glad though, like that they do it.
Yeah, yeah. But like with this at $100 a pop for some game that somebody's hand making for you, you either just take the plunge and be
Yeah,
the head of everything, or you wait. Obviously you wait till uh, you've heard some other people talk about that I would imagine go ahead and do that ahead of you, right? Is that
yeah. I'm just for Cleveland, I'm waiting, but for 44-54, I'm going to get it as soon as the local game store has it. Just they let us play train games there, so we want to buy some games from them occasionally.
sure?
But hey, that's $100, but there's two games in that box.
It's
Right.
true.
But what is the
Yeah,
official? Is it out? Is it not? What is the is the Mayfair edition?
I
I
don't know. I
saw it.
know the ones Velma at Game Surplus had were Lookout.
Yeah, yeah. So
Okay.
Lookout.
Um,
Yeah. Well, I saw a copy at Essen last year, but it wasn't available. I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure
I
it
mean,
wasn't available to buy.
it seems like everything I see, it's like it's going to arrive any day now, and that's been
yeah.
going on for a couple months. And then
Because they
yeah,
were
now they're
supposed to they were supposed to have it at Essen, from what I remember.
yeah, it's been available overseas for a while now,
Okay.
but as far as here, it's just that they haven't had it yet. They finally got the pre-orders up, but even then, you don't know how long that's going to be before it. I was assuming that it was going to be. I thought that they were getting sort of a early, but yeah, if it's Lookout that Game Surplus got, then yeah, that may still be a while.
But do the Lookout edition have English, or is it all German?
And it's German English, so I don't know what that means with that copy. But Velma is a faithful importer, so
Yeah, yeah.
she'll take German copies or English copies or whatever. But
And I saw somebody, time well spent. Somebody ended up buying that from the guy locally.
yes,
Yeah,
his
yeah. I
name is
saw.
also Dave.
Yeah. So the guy who ran that was shutting it down, and then somebody came in and picked it up from him, or bought his
Yeah,
store.
he bought the name, bought you know the business basically, and
Right.
is restarting it. He's going to put a physical location in, all kinds of
Okay.
stuff. And he's a pretty cool guy. I met him a month or so ago.
Well, that bodes well for you guys, because although you guys are, I mean, do you shop? Did you shop there much, or are you pretty much the games? Because you guys have a good connection with the game surplus.
Yeah, but no, several of us would definitely buy games from Dave here and there, Euros and stuff like that. He
Right.
doesn't keep any 18xx games,
Okay.
that kind of thing. But yeah, so this Dave is, probably going to be the same. Just grab a Euro here or there from him,
Sure.
just to, you know, stay in contact.
And then,
So Adam, you said about, oh, sorry.
no, go ahead.
Oh, Adam, you were talking about like it's hard to find information on different games and what makes them unique and stuff. And
Yeah.
I have been toying with starting a blog
Oh,
called,
cool.
and I did do one, and I put one post up so far, um, but it's called Wheel Tapping, and it's on BGG's blog site. And all I'm trying to do there is talk about exactly what makes a game unique, what its MacGuffins are, and stuff like that, and give a little bit of an opinion, but not much of an opinion. I'm trying to keep it more, um, I don't know, less opinionated,
Just getting the
stuff
word out.
like that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, what? Because like I had the same problem. Like, tell me about 18 Neb. Well, you can't find out crap. I guess you can read the rules, but so I was thinking that I would add something about each game in my collection to that every once in a while. I don't know, would that solve something you're looking for? Is that just
Sure.
a
I mean, that
stupid
would be
idea?
nice if there was, especially if there was, an entry on different games, stuff like that, and you could check that out, especially as things come out. Along with things that have been out forever, because, like you said, even Nebraska, I've kind of heard about it, but I've never actually. I had no idea when I sat down. It was a whole different deal.
Really?
Somewhere in my internet travels, I remember seeing somebody just had a list of all the 18X games and kind of explained what their main difference was.
Yeah,
I've
there's definitely that.
But I couldn't tell you where. I mean, it was just in some. I remember seeing it somewhere, but it basically just took them and then just basically said essentially the same. But that's not the same as like what
That's
you guys
very
just talked about.
sterile.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It was basically just here are the rules, somewhat the rules differences. But what you're talking about is what like once
Like,
you play the game, you
what's the
realize.
play difference?
Yeah, yeah, you realize those, like Nebraska, like you realize those things about the game, and that's what's good to put into, a readable uh, chunk of, information that
Yeah.
will
Yeah,
help you decide.
I tried to go through that list for, I can't remember what it was going through this. It may have been 4454, but they have every set of rules and what games apply to it and what games don't. And then you're going through rule differences as opposed to, hey, here's this game and here's what makes it unique.
Right.
So instead of having to go through, maybe a page worth of stuff, you're going through pages and pages and pages and pages to try to figure out, okay, that's not different, that's not different, that's not different, that's not different. And then, okay, that's a small tweak. That's really doesn't matter all that much, and you keep digging and digging and digging. So I guess if you went through all of it, compiled all of it, and presented it, then excluding all the stuff that didn't matter, then yeah, you have useful information, but it's like drinking from the fire hose, pretty much.
Yeah, that list, like I said, it was pretty stale too. I have a question for you guys. So, which 1830 edition should I get? I was reading the discussion on BGG that went back and forth on the Avalon Hill versus the Mayfair one. What are your thoughts?
Adam?
Okay, I'll go first. I was going to let you go first, Tony.
Uh-huh.
I would go for Mayfair. So I prefer the Mayfair. I don't necessarily like the art. I like it a little better than the original Avalon Hill, but there are issues with it. One of the big things is that I believe some of the track tiles were bad, and some of the map stuff, there was some errors there. But you can get fixes for that. At least you could at the time. I don't know if they fixed it
Okay.
in. Okay. Yeah, I would say pick it up soon, or maybe even contact Mayfair and say, hey, I'm thinking about picking this up. Can I get the fixes for those? And get those immediately before I don't know if they'll run out at some point, but you got to get that. You've got to integrate those in. The big issue that you're going to have with the Mayfair is there's a lot of expansions baked into the box. So you've got to go through all the track tiles and just kind of set these aside. It does offer a lot of options in play because there's a lot of different games in the box, a lot of tweaks, a lot of variants that you can play with, which is pretty cool. They've got some rules for initial, if you're brand new to the game, initial offerings that you would divide up between the players, which is kind of cool. So you don't have the private auctions, which can be an issue for new players. You can just kind of divvy those out. It's not going to be a full experience, but at least you guys will get everybody going and get to explore the space. So in general, I'd say Mayfair. I mean, it's not going to be a perfect implementation of it. The Avalon Hill I think, will give you sort of your clean implementation, but the rules again are going to be difficult to get through, and the art is going to be very sparse. So it's just that again, but again, that's more my preference than functional.
Sure.
Yeah, I concur. We printed a copy of the original 1830 rules to keep in our Mayfair box because the rules are just atrocious. Because, like Adam said, it's so full of all these other things. Just finding things sometimes is a pain in the butt. Once you've done it a few times, though, you really don't. If you're playing in the classic game, because the board's two-sided, so if you just play the classic game, you get it down pretty quickly. But it's a definite must-have. The tile set is needed for other games, like those Winsoms 57 and 59.
Definitely. Yeah, I was starting there, but like I said, I was looking.
So yeah,
I was reading the discussion, and it wasn't. Again, it became personal preference over a little bit. But.
Yeah, it doesn't matter in the long run.
Yeah, because I think
you do and enjoy it.
You do have the standard. At least on the core game, you have the standard track available, so it's not like you have to use the decorative track. The expansions, I think you have to use the decorative track. But so that is another thing you got to think about. Is the same track is available on both sides, but the art is different. I kind of wish they just stuck with just the standard art to keep things as simple as possible, but they kind of went their own way with that. So
yeah.
Is what it is.
I think they thought they were doing great stuff, but in the end, it's a little overboard. But again, I'm just glad they're putting 18XX games out there.
That's absolutely true. Yeah, because there was a very long time where you could not get a copy of 1830. If you wanted to get the Avalon Hill, it was going to be, I don't even know what the prices were, but it was pretty high.
Yeah, well, I'm excited about the GMT 1846 to see if they do more, because it seems like it hit their P500 pretty quickly, and it has 1,100 pre-orders, so that's pretty solid for their model.
Yeah.
Of getting a certain amount.
Hopefully, do you think that had something to do with 46's reputation as kind of a good intro?
That I don't know, or if it's just with all of the board game media that we have now, more people are being, hit by it on the correlate. Through all of BGG and all that, you can't help but hit somebody talking about an 18XX game, and maybe it's bringing more people. I don't know.
Yeah.
GMT already has a huge community of a newsletter and all that kind of stuff, so maybe that helped. But I've watched their P500 and seen games that don't go that, get to the list that quick, so I don't know. Does it seem like more people are playing 18XX games to you, or?
It feels like it.
Yeah, I don't. Or willing to do
definitely.
it, because you pick up any of these, Euros that I play, and it's not, Adam introduced me to the. It didn't seem any more complicated than some of the Euros that we're playing, which. And it like I said, for me, it gives me the same thing that a good Euro gives me. I get that same feeling out of it, so that that's the games that I like. So, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's just more people in the hobby that are getting introduced to it, or it's hard to say. But I could see your point. Where is it the game, or is it could another 18XX get that same appeal? I don't know.
I'm hoping that this spawns a layman finishing
See which titles.
finishing 54. Is it 54 that his next one is? That's the unfinished. He's got one that's like 95% finished and just
I don't know.
needs to finish out. So I'm hoping that if 46, since 46 is as successful as it is, that he'll finish out the next one. But we shall see.
And you think that because of the
Shall
connection to
see,
GMT, they might release it?
I am hopeful. I have no other knowledge of such, but
Yeah,
since
yeah.
they've worked with the designer on it and they've done all this development work on to get sort of the track art and the board art and kind of and work with that, I'm hopeful that will be the next thing that they release, but I have no information to confirm that.
Well, we can switch this to the what are you most excited about? Either old games, new to you, or stuff that's coming out.
Huh.
What are you gonna play next? What's your next weekend?
This coming weekend is actually probably going to be a war game on Sunday. I don't know which one yet, but
But what's the next train? What's the next
skipping.
train game? What's the next train game you got lined up?
Well, the next train game for us is going to be 1822. It'll probably be the following Sunday though, because Chad and I have had a chance to play it, but Edward hasn't, and
Okay.
he's an auction fan, so we want to get that back to the table. But then we want to finish. We chose 1860 to be our game of the quarter, and we've got 3 plays of it, but we want to get a couple more. And this quarter is stretched out to be half the year so far because of just other craziness in lives.
Yeah.
So we want to get one 1822 in, then we want to get 2 more 60s in. So, and then when we go down on Saturday, next Saturday, I'm going to go to the Wizards Chest, which is a local store here in Denver, where every Saturday there's. So I don't know what I'll play when I get there, because we just sit down and decide what to play.
And what about you, Adam? Sounds like you've got
Hmm?
you got stuff coming up, or you? What do you? I know you were trying to do something in August with.
Yeah, I'm probably going to be going down to UAT on the 13th, or not probably. I'm going to be going down there for that. Big thing for me is I keep waiting for 1880 to come out. I keep hoping that they're going to be releasing it, and keeps. I don't know. I mean, I guess they started. They said, "Oh, we're almost done," with like March of 2013 or something, and yeah, it just keeps going. That's kind of why I'm waiting, I guess, for 54, and that might be why they're waiting to release 80 until 54 has been out for a while. Because my preference is for 80. The investors and the way that the game flows, having the track rights and everything is really interesting. But again, that's not available yet.
And
I want that one too.
who's doing that one?
Double O Games, the same designers as 54, 44. I was thinking about picking up 54 and 44 were top of my list, and then I didn't really see anybody playing it and being really excited by it. That's why I'm kind of hoping from Heavy Cardboard to get sort of a general feel of what different and what thoughts are, because it's tough to outlay that, especially we don't get as many XX games played here, so to pick something up that I might play once is tough unless it's something that that one play is going to be pretty awesome. I can buy a game and play it once a year, and that's fine. Just keep it in the collection. But I don't want to buy a game and play it once and then have to figure out how to sell it.
Well, we'll have to work.
hear you.
I do want to play more. Just got to work it out. The scheduling's always the hard part. So.
Yeah, I think next year at what's it called? Consum World, we're probably going to be doing at least heavier games. I don't know if XX will hit the table or not, but we did this time, so yeah, maybe next year.
That sounds fun too. Consum World.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
It was really nice. I know this is not really train gaming, but we went down for that, and it was everybody. I just wasn't prepared for that. I don't know what my expectations were, but everyone was like super friendly. The space was amazing. As far as the hotel, the tables, the chairs were really nice. The tables were kind of a mix, but because it's a wargaming space, you're going to want the bigger tables. So that's what they that's primarily what they had. Which, I mean, if you're doing wargame, I'm sure that would be phenomenal to have that many kind of big tables to work with. Um, but yeah, it was a good experience, and we played mainly just Euros and an XX, and we played the Food Chain Magnate 1846, and I think there was one other, but I can't remember right now.
Was it you went with Brian? Did you and Brian go?
Brian went early in the week. I was actually there with Dean.
Okay.
When I was only able to get there for a day because I was out in Ohio for a week previously, so I went the last day, and there was still a good number of people there, and it was a pretty good time.
So that was a weekend day?
Yes, it was the last Saturday.
Yeah. I've always wanted to go, but have never been able to swing because most of it's, they go all week, so I've
Yep.
always wanted to take a couple weekdays off and go, but it never happened. But
Yeah, I think I'm planning on going at least the opening Saturday. I don't know. It's like you said, Tony. I get one con a year where I can kind of get out and just kind of and leave. And then right now that's BGG Con this year. Um, so I just don't know. But I will be there for that Saturday, more likely than not.
cool. So we're a little over an hour. Any final thoughts or
I do have
discussions that we haven't had?
I do have one question for you guys. If there's something else you want to cover, that's totally cool.
Oh no,
Okay.
I'm
One thing I've been thinking about recently, and this is more sort of a personal design that I'm thinking about and kind of uh, working with, um, is the sort of the 18xx lighter games, games that sort of try to offer that 18xx experience, but with sort of in a shorter, well, not necessarily shorter, but in a lighter sort of environment. The big one there, obviously, is Baltimore and Ohio, which I think is a good game, but not. I think it fails in the sense that it's the length of the game, because it's pretty much just I'll play an XX. If it's going to be 4 hours, I'm going to play an
right.
XX. Um, but I've got some ideas for trying to create a game space that would offer similar decisions, but maybe trying to cap that out in a 2-hour time frame. Some of that is based on some of the concepts that Trick of the Rails introduced, but taking that and running with it, I guess. But I'm curious if that sounds interesting to you guys, or if that sounds and I know that's kind of a loaded question, but yeah, I'd be curious what your thoughts would be about that style of game.
I I personally think it would do well.
Naturally, interest, yes.
Yeah, yeah. I think that it fits into that the idea of the Euro game slot. Like when you go to a game night, or there's that slot that a good Euro fits into. Um, and I think if it fits into that, because like I said, that for me the 18xx games give the same feeling I get from playing a good Euro, but it's also but often I can't spend 6 to 12 hours. So I do think, but if somebody pulled one out that fit into that time slot that I have, I would definitely. I think the thing that you're gonna have to worry about is well, I don't even know if you have to worry about it. Is what do um, the longer games give the players, right? What do they get out of the longer time uh, games? Because there is something to that. So maybe Tony can talk about that because he's probably played more of those style games than I have.
Well, I think that the winsome titles um, really scratch kind of an itch in that area because I can get a lot of mental work out of a winsome title on a school night,
Right.
because it's only going to be a couple hours of gameplay or something. Um, but they're still not quite scratching what the 18xx obviously gives. So, if you had ideas on, the different, like, the route building is in the Winsome games, the route building is in the 18xx games. In the 18xx games, that route building's a lot more interesting. Um, in the way that stock is evaluated is a lot more interesting too. I'd be exceedingly interested in something that could bridge that gap and be like a Winsome Plus maybe or something like that.
Or here I have it for you, an 18xx legacy game
Oh, that would be wicked.
where you play in like 2 hour slots, and then yeah, there you go.
That would be awesome.
You have to
It's
keep buying.
successions.
Yeah, you have to keep buying new tile sets.
That's right. The
At
tiles are
night
stickers, baby.
at
You put
1990
them down and they're down.
at 19.99 a pop.
With regards to Winsome and 18xx and our earlier 1830, I'm working on an SNCF map that is a tribute to 1830. It's essentially the same area of the country, but there's a 2D stock market and prices go up and down, and so you could do some wonkage on each other in their stock valuation, something that's generally missing from SNCF, except for the Dutch map. But so yeah, I mean, there's another right there, Adam. There's some proof for you, like, oh, how can I get a little more 18xx out of something
Well,
else?
I've seen some scaled down stuff on BGG, but that just hasn't been published or hasn't it hasn't reached, because it's so hard to get, like, I mean, you say 18xx to any of these major publishers and they're just gonna shut the door. I mean, it's not.
Yeah.
Um, so, but I think people have attempted what you're. I don't know with what kind of success, but
Yeah, even if it's not like super successful, I'm just curious what the interest would be, because I know with Baltimore and Ohio, it's just not talked about anymore. I don't know if anybody's even playing it all that much anymore.
is that because it's hard? Well, I mean, there was the Eagle Griffin edition, and then I mean, is that just because it's hard to get, or is it hard to get? I don't know. I don't know if it is.
I mean, everything I've heard is pretty much anybody that's willing to play a game of that scope would play an XX instead.
We
That was sort of
reviewed it.
huh? Yeah.
We reviewed it when I was still with Heavy Cardboard, and that was our general thing. It's an excellent game, but 4 hours, geez, I could play something else, real
Right.
18xx, and many titles in 4 hours.
Yeah, it feels like if
So
the scope of that game was about half of what it is, then it might have been more enjoyable.
yeah,
Well, we'll definitely play test it with you.
Yeah,
agreed.
I've got a good framework for it. I've gone further down the line than I have with some of my other designs. So I'm just trying to figure out, do the changes still allow for shared incentives? Is it interesting enough from a decision space? That's still, and I know I've heard kind of get a prototype going and then try it out kind of thing. So I'm
And you put it in Arizona, right?
It's one of the generic ones. It's not going to have. There's based on the design of it, there's no way you could have a. Well, I guess you could technically have it in a setting, but right now, I'm affectionately calling it 1846 the card game. So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Looking
That
forward
is
to it.
cool. I wish you luck and success with it, sir.
Yeah.
And come to Denver and play test it.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen. I think we should wrap it up here. Appreciate you coming on and chatting with me. And
It's always fun.
yeah, I'm sure we'll do it again in the future. And have a good rest of your week. And we'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Adam, great to meet you.
Good to meet you as well, Tony.
And
Always a pleasure.
all of you out there, you can catch us on Twitter, Rage of Steam, at Rage of Steam, and we have a website, rageofsteam.com, which this episode will be put up on, and we have a YouTube channel. Just search for Rage of Steam, all one word together. All right, take care. Thanks.
Bye, guys.
Bye.